welcome to Blackbriar Gaming. Today I'm going to take you on a deep dive into the box set that we've now officially had revealed. Finally, we're not looking at blurry photos to determine the contents of the set that will really define Horus Heresy 2.0, much like the 8th and 9th ed starter sets did for 40k. The importance of this set cannot be understated. It will drive the success or failure of our next edition. In this video, I'm keen to discuss the contents, the value, the applicability, the points potential, how to best use what we get in the set, and what this set will mean for our hobby. Just a quick note before we get into it, as we're a new channel, a subscribe and a like really helps us reach a bigger audience. So if you enjoy this video, please hit those buttons down below. First up, the contents. Let's take a look at what we're getting. There is a lot of stuff that comes in this set. So, just quickly, we've got the 40 Tactical Marines of the Mark 6 variety that we can see here. We've got the 2 Praetors of 2 different types. A lot of controversy around those and whether people like them or not, but I think they both look pretty cool, if not a new style that GW is heading towards. We've got a new plastic Contempted Dreadnought, which I'm very excited about because it's not that old horrible static Contempted Dreadnought that I did not like at all. And then we've got, I was about to say lastly, but it's not lastly, then we've got the 10 Cataphracti Terminators, and then lastly we have the Land Raider Spartan, which is so exciting to get such a big unit in plastic. Then of course we have the dice templates and rulebook that will no doubt come in the starter set. So many things, big set. So what am I hoping for in regards to the content that we see here? So there's 2 specific things, and I guess they're unknowns at the moment, that I'm really hoping for. The first is that we see multiple weapons for the Contempted Dreadnought. Now, I'm assuming we will, but it's a big assumption. We should actually find out tomorrow, because tomorrow is when the community article on that Contemptor is due to drop. So I'd love to see different weapon options, not just the autocannon and the power fist there, and I'd love to see it to be posable as well. Once again, I think it will be. Time will tell. The next piece there is that I hope we see special and heavy weapons for the Tactical Squad Mark 6 Armor Sprues. We should get them, as the Mark 3 and Mark 4 units had various special and heavy weapons. Not a full selection, but enough to be useful. Is it wishful thinking? Maybe, but I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we'll get them. It would make sense. It's what GW have done previously. Getting 4 of a bunch of different special and heavy weapons in this set right from the get-go would be very nice, as with a bit of swapping and trading, you can get together really quickly some tactical support or some heavy support squads right out of the box, which would be really nice. So you're not stuck kicking around with 40 Marines with bolters, because that has varying use for varying legions. Next up, the value. I'm keen to do a quick value breakdown, as it will shape the rest of this discussion. I'm going to use Australian prices because it's what we know. So, the box set's rumoured to be around £240, which should come out between about 500 to 550 Australian dollary dues once we've paid our convict tax. So, let's break down those unit costs and see if we're getting some decent value out of this box set. First up is the 2 Praetors. I would value these at about $50 each. That's what we're seeing commonly for non-Primaris size characters. So that's what I reckon. So that's about $100 just for the Praetors if they were bought individually. Next up is the 4 Mark 6 Tactical Squads. So the Mark 3 Tactical Squad is still listed at $84 a pop. Now, it's not actually available anymore, from my understanding, from any Games Workshop around the world, but that's what they're going for. Noting that that's a pretty old price, but $84 times 4 gets us to $336. Though I expect individual Mark 6 squads to go for a cool $100 once they're released, just because GW can do what they want. So that's the tactical squads. The old plastic Contemptor is no longer listed on Games Workshop's site, but from memory it was around $100. And this one looks way better than that one did, but let's say $100 for now, though I expect individually it'll probably be up the $110, $120 mark once it's released. Specialist Land Raiders are going for $132. That's the Redeemer and the Crusader on Games Workshop. Now, I don't see the Spartan, bigger and better, going for any less than $180 to $220 on the high side there. So let's, for value's sake, say that it will be individually costed at about $200. Then let's throw in an extra $50 for whatever rules, dice, and templates the box set comes with, which will almost definitely sell individually for more. So in total, and obviously this is a rough estimation, we don't have the actual cost yet, we're looking at around $785 of value in this kit if the units were bought individually, and that is a conservative estimate. That's some serious value, and considering how many points you get in this set, which I'll touch on later, that $500 mark seems really reasonable, which I know is a crazy thing to say, but here we are. Especially once you start factoring in that kind of 10 to 20% discount rate that you're getting from your local gaming store, you're getting a lot in this kit for not as much money as you would spend elsewhere on plenty of other armies for 40k or Age of Sigmar. So my advice is to start saving up now, because you're definitely going to want to get one of these box sets, and there's always that threat of a limited edition release. We don't know that for sure at the moment, but noting the size of this thing, I'm not expecting GW to be selling this for the next few years. I think it'll be a one-off release, and that'll be that, and then we'll see smaller starter sets come out afterwards with, no doubt, less value in them. Now for the applicability, and what I'm talking about here is how applicable is the content within this box set for every single legion. So there's been a whole bunch of contention around this issue, which I think is a bit ridiculous, but the community will do what the community will do. The fact is, this box set is just not perfect for every legion you may want to play. I know other people may disagree or argue, but that's the stance that I'm taking. But you know what? That's okay. GW decided to go with 40 Mark 6 Marines in their flagship starter set. It was a bold choice, but I see plenty of arguments for and against the decision. I won't go into them now, that's probably a whole other video, but it is what it is. I'm going to make the most of it myself and start a new legion that is more than happy to be kicking around in Bolt Mark 6. If you're starting a new legion with this box set, I simply suggest you do the same. It's a subjective call, however, on which legions are happy to beak out, but as I see it, and I'm going for a mix of aesthetic and lore-driven decisions here, the break-friendly legions include Raven Guard, Blood Angels, White Scars, Sons of Horus, Imperial Fists, Alpha Legion, Night Lords, Dark Angels, and Space Wolves. Now, there will be slight lore arguments for why some of those shouldn't have a whole bunch of Mark 6, but I think aesthetically, which is kind of the most important thing to me, call me shallow, all of those legions could happily chuck some Mark 6 on the table and not look ridiculous. Which leaves those other legions feeling a bit left out, however. Your Death Guard, your Iron Warriors, those kind of legions, I just feel would look a bit strange with all of their Marines being in Mark 6 armor. If I was collecting a new legion where I didn't want to kit out all of my Bolter Pigs in Mark 6, would I still buy this new box set? You betcha. The value, I think, is just too good to pass up. My advice would then be to sell on your Mark 6 boys and invest in either the existing Mark 3 and Mark 4 plastic kits, which I'm really hoping GW starts stocking again when the new edition comes out. Or you can look at the many other options out there, either for 3D printed options, alternative third-party miniatures, or the resin Forge World options, noting that I included that last one at the end for a reason. Now onto the points potential. So how many points are we getting in this set? Well, the answer to that is a lot. Now, I've done a quick points breakdown, but it is a wide range depending on how you kit your units out with. Going through it quickly though, we've got the Praetor that comes out at about 150 points. You're probably only going to run one Praetor in your army, so if you're planning on using the entire box set for a new army and not splitting it with a mate or whatever that looks like, or doing two different armies, you've got your one Praetor at about 150. I'd use the other character model as a Centurion, a consul of some description, which varies quite broadly in points, but will come at around the 110 point mark. Then we get on to the 10 Terminators. This, once again, can vary highly, noting that their different weapon loadouts cost points, but let's say the Terminators are going to come out at around 450 points, and you can certainly go higher on those. The 40 Tactical Marines, and the way I've costed them up is to give them a few upgrades here and there, multitude of choices, and you can use these, of course, as other squads, which I'll get into later. But if we're using these 40 Marines here as Tactical Marines with a decent loadout, we're looking at around 640 points. The Contempted Dreadnought, they got a bit more expensive in the new edition, so the Contempted Dreadnought, as we see it there, that loadout is about 210 points. And then lastly, we have the Spartan. Now, the Spartan can vary wildly in cost, just like everything else here. Really depends if you give it a flare shield or not. But let's say the Spartan will come out at about 400 points. So all of that put together, this starter box set, this one box set at around $500, less if you get it from a local gaming store, is giving you 2,000 points pretty much on the table straight away. That is fantastic. That's great value. That's great choices within the box set to give us that point value. I'm really excited about that. And the content itself are just iconically Heresy as well. So you're going to want to run these units pretty much no matter what legion you're throwing out there. Now, most Horus Heresy games are running about that 3,000 point mark, just because it's a bigger system. You got cooler things out there than you would see 40k, like Primarchs, for instance. If you chuck a Primarch in there and a couple of specialist units, that will get you up to that 3,000 point mark. To put together a 40k army these days, and certainly some factions are more expensive than others, but to put together 3,000 points of 40k is certainly going to cost you more than 500 plus maybe, let's say, $200 to $300 for those extra specialist units. So pretty good, and pretty excited that we're going to have so many people getting into the game and able to put together armies so easily from this box set. But I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So firstly, how do we best use what we get in this box set? Some armies are going to love 40 Tactical Marines kicking around. Iron Warriors are a good example. They certainly make the use out of their bolters, but other legions, not so much. At least from a making the most of your special rules perspective. So what do we do with 40 Beaky Marines if we're not into that bolter life? Well, there's a whole bunch of other Space Marine units that you can run that use just basic regular Marines with different weapon loadouts or some different kit. So if you're not familiar with Horus Heresy and what all of those different options are, here's a few of them. So you've got veteran squads, you've got assault squads, and let me say you're definitely going to want one of these at least. You've got tactical support squads and those heavy support squads, which I was talking about before, which hopefully we see those special and heavy weapons coming on those tactical sprues so that we can run those squads right from the get-go. You've got reconnaissance squads, which is maybe going to need some conversion with the bolters, and same for seeker squads as well. There's also plenty of conversion kits from Forge World for various legions, Imperial Fist, Alpha Legion, good examples, that need base Marines to add those to. So extra Marines is going to be useful for running those extra legion-specific specialist squads that have conversion kits as well. Many of the weapons of these squads should come in the box set, as I've said, or be achieved with a bit of creative conversion. Forge World itself sells plenty of weapon kits, lots of heavy weapons, lots of special weapons, and we've even heard rumours that we'll start to see weapon kits being stocked in GW stores, which would be really nice and make them a lot more accessible. Will they be plastic? Maybe, maybe not. We'll wait and see. For units like assault squads, there are tons of options for 3D printed parts to stick jump packs on the back. You can either print them yourself or you can buy them printed. So if you don't want to run 40 Tactical Marines and you're looking at this set going, what am I going to do with all of those bolter guys? There are plenty of other options to use base level post-human Marines and make them into cool other squads to get a bit of variation in your army. If you're into the beak, you will definitely therefore use up those 40 Marines very quickly and probably want more. If you're not, there will always be people out there keen to buy up your spare squads so you can sell them on happily and get into those different armor types. So what does this box set mean for our hobby? Well, due to the nature of Space Marine on Space Marine Warfare and the subsequent box set that comes with that, this is officially the cheapest and easiest way to ever get into a Games Workshop full army style, not skirmish, system with a playable army right from the get-go. I'm really hoping that Horus Heresy goes from becoming a niche system that is notoriously difficult to buy into to a system that people are considering over 40k simply due to its accessibility. This will mean a lot of new players, and as a community, we need to embrace them with positivity and encouragement. Let's not let a culture of negativity, which has been understandably bred from so many years of some pretty average support for the game system that we love, but let's not let that negativity turn away a horde of potential new players that this box set brings in. And that brings us to the end of our Heresy Chats for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you're now a bit more hyped for this set, and you're coming up with ways to make the best use of it for your legion. Make sure to keep rolling those dice, and getting hyped for Heresy.